Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome back to our Edmonton Oilers Throwback 2010 franchise mode here in NHL 25. So last episode, if you didn't catch it, we started up the 2012-13 season, and it's been a horrific start for this team. We are 8-30-3, and we're halfway through the season, so it's unlikely that this team is going to obviously make it to the playoffs, which is good, but there is some underlining concerns with the roster because we aren't getting good production from anybody on this team. We're dead last in goals for and goals against, all that stuff. So we're having a really tough time getting our young guys actually good stats and all that, which is definitely a cause for concern because we don't really want to stunt their growth. So likely in this episode, we might make a coaching change, which might make us simulate a little bit better, but we do want these guys like Eberle and all that to actually start producing. So hopefully we can get them to produce a little bit more in this episode, so much so that they don't make the playoffs still. Obviously, we aren't probably going to be a playoff team, but obviously bringing in a new coach might make us not have the top overall pick in this year's draft, which might kind of suck because we do kind of want Nathan MacKinnon, but at the same time, it would make sense for us to actually find a coach that might help with the younger guys a little bit better. So that's likely what we're going to do in this episode. Maybe find like a B minus coach, so that way we're not over simulating. So hopefully we can find one that works well with like guys like Eberle and all that. But Eberle right now is leading the team in points and goals at the moment. But you can see the main thing that's causing me some concern is guys like Cameron, who we just drafted 5th overall. He's literally a playmaker. He only has 9 points in 41 games at the moment. So I kind of want him, guys like Marcoux as well, to develop better. So by bringing in a new coach, that hopefully should give those guys a better opportunity to produce. Like Cameron's literally on the power play, but he only has 6 even strength points at the moment, and he was on the first line originally. We did demote him down to a third line role, but that was more just to kind of protect him a bit. So yeah, coaching changes I think are a necessary thing for us to do before the season ends, just so that way we could get more out of guys like Justin Falk as well, who is a two-way defenseman but only has 3 points in his minus 43. So I think that should be something we look into, and if it makes us simulate too good, it's not the end of the world, but hopefully we do still have a good chance to get the first overall pick and also get good production from our younger guys, because I kind of want a mix of both. I don't want to just be full on tanking where we hurt our players, and I don't want to be making the playoffs either. So hopefully we can find a way to do that in this episode. But anyways, before we get into simulating probably the rest of the season and getting into a trade deadline and all that stuff, let's get in your guys' comments, see what you guys have to say about last episode, and then we'll look into what we do for the rest of the season. So the first comment is from Noah M47, who says, get an A coach with good teaching, sign him as the NHL head coach, then put him in the AHL for great development. And that's actually not a bad idea, is getting a good coach and then basically just demoting him to an AHL coach. Coaches don't have morale even, so I think it should be an okay thing for us to do if we actually did bring in a good coach for the AHL team, and then we could basically help the prospects down there in the minors develop. Now, the AHL team is doing good with this B coach, so maybe it's not something we do necessarily this season, but maybe in the offseason we could bring in an A coach for the AHL. But right now it seems like the AHL team's doing fine with this B coach, so obviously at some point maybe Marquardt becomes our head coach in the NHL while we wait for the A guy to develop or something like that. I'm not too sure, but obviously we'll definitely look to making a coaching adjustment in the NHL, because this McPherson guy, he's a C coach, which isn't the worst rating you could get. 61% team fit, like he doesn't hurt necessarily some of these guys, but you can see with like guys like Cameron and all that, I wish he was a little bit better. So we'll probably look for like a B minus one at best, because if we get obviously like an A coach or something like that, that could make us a playoff team randomly out of nowhere. So we'll definitely look into probably getting an A coach that we could put in the AHL and then put him in the NHL eventually down the road. I'm not too sure about this season, but definitely kind of an interesting idea that you came up with, because I don't think I've ever thought about actually signing an NHL coach and then just making him a full-on AHL coach. So that could be definitely something to help with the development of our top prospects. Next comment is from Jared the Rabbit, who says, I'd say Eberle or Cameron should be the thumbnail athlete. And yeah, if we do trade away Gagne, which is not necessarily going to happen in this episode, if we do trade away Gagne, which is likely to happen in the series for sure, probably in next episode, I'd like to say, so at the draft or something like that, then we'll probably put Jordan Eberle or we'll put Cameron as the thumbnail athlete. We'll definitely have to get a screenshot of them, though, playing a game, so we'll probably have to jump into a game next season or something like that so we could actually actually get a nice little action shot of them for the thumbnail. I'd say probably I'm leaning towards maybe making Eberle the guy just for now, because Eberle obviously is a real player in this type of era. Chase Cameron obviously is a generated guy, so maybe we wait a bit before Cameron becomes our thumbnail guy. And the last and final comment is from Sanrataku, who says, I wasn't expecting a team to be good, but this is atrocious. You may want to find a new coach right now, if only because you don't want to stunt the growth of your prospects. Both the ones currently on the NHL roster as well as those coming up will be up in the immediate future. Probably better to move Gagne at the draft. And yeah, I wasn't expecting to be this bad when it came down to the season, but we've been absolutely abysmal. So obviously the coaching adjustment is something we need to do. And I do agree about trading Gagne, probably preferably at the draft, just because at this point in the season, he can't play with whatever team we trade him away to. So it kind of doesn't seem realistic to trade him to a team that he's not going to be able to play for till next season. So obviously, I think we'll come back to at the draft to revisit trading Gagne, and then maybe we could get ourselves a very high up pick with that deal, and we could draft like Nathan McKinnon and somebody else that's really good in that like top 15 or something like that. So I don't know if we'll actually trade away anything in this episode. I think we'll obviously be looking for that coaching adjustment like Sarataku was mentioning. But I don't think there's anybody on this roster that's worth flipping right now, because a lot of these guys are here, I think, for some of them are decently here for the long haul. Obviously, we could look into trading somebody like O'Sullivan or Brule. Probably nobody really on the defensive side of things, but the thing with trading away them is it would make us not cap compliant. We'd have to take back salary caps, so it would have to take an interesting offer to actually get rid of them probably. We could call up guys from the AHL if we did make trades, but I'm not too sure if there's anybody I'd want to flip yet. Obviously, I'm thinking at some point we should move on from Patrick O'Sullivan as well, but obviously not just yet. Probably waiting a little bit until guys like, I don't know, Hagelin are ready to jump up higher up into the top 6, that type of thing. So I don't think we'll probably make any trades in this episode, but we'll definitely look and see if there's anything interesting thrown at us for somebody like O'Sullivan, maybe even Gilbert Brule. It's tough to say. Brule's already 26 now at this point, and he is signed for one more year, so we could still hold on to Brule a bit longer while we wait for Cameron to actually fully develop or something like that. But yeah, we definitely have maybe some options to do. So first and foremost, let's fire our head coach, because he has been not that good at all for his team, which is what we were expecting, but we didn't expect him to be as bad as he currently is. So we're going to fire him, which means we're going to have to put Skrbek as our temporary head coach probably, and we'll look for somebody else. So Uriel, thank you for your time here. Thank you for making us bad, but you're kind of making us a bit too bad. So I guess we'll temporarily promote Zigomanis as the interim for the time being. And I guess, yeah, then we'll hire ourselves a new head coach if we can. We don't want anybody too good, like I was saying. We kind of prefer to get like an actual like B- if there's one. Well, there's B's and A minuses, so I don't really want that. I prefer a B-. So let's just go to all coaches here and kind of see what might work well with this team in terms of low-rated guys, or lower-rated guys. So if we go down here to the B- coaches, who do we got? So first and foremost, we have Sam Miller, 56, and kind of low. Griffin, 51. We could go for pretty much anybody in terms of team fit, but I kind of want somebody that might be able to develop into being a good coach for us eventually. Somebody that works well with Cameron especially too would be good. This one's more of an AHL coach. Yeah, that's an AHL head coach with a B-. Damn, that's not bad for AHL development. But Harkins is not too bad, but he doesn't work great with Cameron. He's a 63. We don't want to have somebody super high in team fit, but we want somebody that works good with Cameron especially, I think, because he's definitely the guy we want to develop the most. This guy's a little bit better with Cameron and Cogliano and Eberle. 60%'s a bit high, though. This guy looks really good with Cameron. He's at 61%. Would this make us over-simulate is the question, though. I think I gotta go for this guy just because he works great with Cameron. It might make us over-simulate a little bit, but maybe it won't at the same time. So, we'll bring this guy in as our head coach, Dane Chapman. So bring him in as the head coach. Hopefully he doesn't make us simulate too good, but we kind of just need somebody to be good with our younger guys. Like, even if we go on a good tear, like we win 10, 15 games in a row down the stretch, I don't think we're being a playoff team. So I don't think this will be a bad idea, just bringing in this Chapman guy temporarily at least. So there's that. Everything else should be pretty good. We're still a month or so away from the trade deadline, so we don't even need to look necessarily into deals yet. But I am going to go to find trade just to see what Patrick O'Sullivan could potentially fetch us right now. Even though I don't know if I would flip him away for sure. 2 second-rounders and Sergei Zubov. Zubov is an old man at this point, so just basically 2 second-rounders, not worth it really. And a Mike Fisher in a third. I'm not interested in any veteran type of players. Maybe I should readjust our trading block a bit, just so we could say what we actually want, which I thought I did. Yeah, I did. Okay. They were throwing some weird-ass offers at me because I don't really want old guys on this team. So let's simulate a few days, see if we get that coach in, and if we do, obviously, we'll see if it makes us too good, but I'd prefer to start winning a couple more games than normal just to kind of get guys like Cameron better. And if we get this new coach, maybe we'll readjust the lines and get Cameron higher up in the lineup again and see if he could start producing on a better level. So let's go to this game against the Sharks. The coach should make up his mind by that point, likely. Mark Flood's on waivers. I think he's already pretty old, right? 28. No, he's not very old, but we have a lot of guys listed as depth defenders pretty much, so we'll decline that. New York Islanders game, as the coach has accepted, so welcome aboard to Dane Chapman. So we'll go back to our edit lines here, as we just lost to the Islanders. Derek Meach is on waivers as well from St. Louis. Same type of thing, depth defenseman, that's 28. We don't need that really, so just going to decline that. All right, let's readjust our lines with this new coach and see if we could figure out some good stuff for our players to get some good development. Obviously, we don't want to over-simulate, but I do want guys like Cameron to be in a good spot. He's now up to an 83 overall, so we are going to move him back to the top-line center again. We will play him with Eberle and O'Sullivan. Aside from that, we'll probably move Marcoux back up to the third line. And the rest of that will stay the same. So we'll go back to our old lines again and just see if we could get guys that we want to produce to actually start producing. So we'll probably readjust it like this. Perfect. And maybe I'll go with Falk on that second pairing just because Petrie's the older guy. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, we'll see if that helps out, if anything. Hopefully we see some good stats from Cameron. So this is his stats before the new coach. 9 points in 42 games. Obviously not very good. So we'll see if he starts going on a good production rate with a new head coach on this roster. So hopefully that's the case. Because like I said, I don't really want to stunt his growth. He's probably the best prospect we have, our best young guy we have. And obviously stunting his growth would kind of suck. Wow, we have a lot of games against Anaheim this month, which is a good team. We played them 4 times this month. I don't know what's with the scheduling in Custom League, but it's very strange. I don't know how the AI determines who you play and all that. All right, we beat San Jose 3-0, so a nice shutout to start that coach's time here in Edmonton. And we also beat the Ducks 6-4 in a game. Okay, and we are still losing games, which is good also to see, but we are winning more with this new coach. We've won 3 games or 4 games since, which is nice. Columbus has fired their head coach, Julius Rome, so shout out to Julius Rome. Game against Anaheim, 9-5 loss. Yikes. Well, that's still good offense, at least. And then 7-1 loss. Damn. And then we beat them in the last game in a month. So we are definitely doing much better already with this new coach. Not necessarily way better that we're actually winning crazy amounts of games, but we did win 2, 3, 4, 5 games since this new coach came in. We did also lose games, though, like 7-1, 5-2, and 9-5. So that's kind of more what I wanted to expect from this team. I wanted us to have games where we win, and I wanted games where we'd lose. Not where we basically just lose a bunch of games and not win whatsoever. So I'll definitely take that. Coyotes have fired their head coach, Manny Udes. Okay. Let's take an updated look at Cameron's stats after that little bit with that new coach. See if his stats are improving a bit, because I'd expect they would, since he's a better fit with them. Oh, Sullivan's dropped down to an 84, so he's losing morale? Individual performance, so it's just a little bit of a statistical drop-off maybe. And since that coaching change, Chase Cameron is starting to finally find his game a little bit. Because since that coaching adjustment, he's got like, I think like 5 points, maybe 6 points. He was at 9 points before, actually. So yeah, he's gotten 6 points since that coaching adjustment. So that's what I like to see from him. Marku, I don't remember what his point totals were like before that, but I'm hoping that these younger guys are going to do much better because we got this new coach in. So obviously he's not probably the long-term coach, but if the numbers improve, that'd be great. Wow, we're dead last in almost everything except for penalty kill. We are 8th on the penalty kill somehow, so we're a top 10 defensive team on the PK, but 5-on-5, power play, goals for, we are absolute trash. So that's kind of funny. Kind of funny. All right, let's continue to simulate. We're getting closer to the trade deadline, so it'll be interesting to see what AI trades get thrown around this year. That's what I'm usually always excited for in these type of episodes, is what type of trades go down. But yeah, we'll probably get through the rest of the season in this episode just because it's pretty much a lost season at this point. So we'll find out if we're able to get Nathan McKinnon in an upcoming draft and all that stuff. But Nyquist has been injured with an upper body injury. That's unfortunate. It's only for a few days. Let's just go replace player on that. Wow, we just beat Colorado 6-1. That's good to see. And then we lost to Detroit in overtime. So definitely doing better with this coach, but not so much that we're actually hurting our chances at the first overall pick. So that's kind of what we want to see from this roster. Nyquist will jump back in. Perfect. Hopefully he's doing better with this coach as well. Montreal is a 2-1 shootout win. Nice. Coyotes 5-3 loss. At least it was close. Carolina 3-2 loss. Yeah, at least we're having some competitive games. Like, we're losing games, but we're still competitive. And this is an interesting offer getting thrown to us for Ryan Jones. I don't really want to accept any offer right now just because we're so close to the cap floor. Or just above the cap floor, I should say. A 4th rounder, Ryan Jones, for Philip Deneau's rights and some guy named Hellenius. Hellenius isn't going to pan out, so it's basically for Philip Deneau, which is not a bad prospect whatsoever. I could have probably even made him a medium 6, but I made him a high 9. 70 at 19 is pretty solid. Very good face-offs, of course. Very more of a defensive-minded player. Not a great shooter, it looks like. He's a good passer, though. Philip Deneau is a good prospect, but I honestly don't really know if I'd fall below the floor if I made this deal. I probably wouldn't, actually. I probably wouldn't. Yeah, that might actually not be a bad idea. Jones is already 28 at this point. He's got 14 points. He's on pace for a career best year, but he's still not really going to be anything else. He's 28 years old, so he's an exact depth forward, basically. And we wouldn't be below the floor if we made this deal. That's what it looks like, at least to me. I'm trying to think. Is Jones on a 2-way contract? Yes, he is. Okay. So that's probably why we wouldn't be below the floor. I don't know about giving up a 4th round pick, though. I'm trying to think if 4th round, that would be like a generated prospect, probably. Because obviously that's not this upcoming draft. I don't know if I'd be able to draft anything higher than a high top 9 in the 4th round. I don't even know if Philip Deneau is still going to pan out or not. I don't really like his shooting categories whatsoever. But I do really like his face-offs. I think I'm going to decline this deal for now. But it could be something I revisit if we get offered that closer to the deadline again. Ottawa's fired their head coach, Javon Graham. All right. Phoenix, 6-5 shootout win. 2 4th rounders for David Desharnais and Ryan Wilson. Both on 1-year contracts left. I don't need them right now, so going to decline that. Also don't really feel like giving up 4th rounders just yet. Unless there's an interesting deal thrown at us. 2 4th rounders for a 3rd in Carl Gunnarsson's rights, who's only signed for a year. Gunnarsson's not a bad defenseman, but he kind of might make us too good if I did bring him in. Yeah, 79 at 26. He's probably not going to get re-signed by Toronto, so he's probably just going to be a free agent in a 3rd rounder for 2 4s. I'm going to decline that. It's not a bad offer, but I think Gunnarsson's not somebody I really need here since I already have guys like Spiza who are pretty similar. All right, 3rd and a 7 for a 3rd in Brian Lee's rights. Well, Brian Lee was a highly touted prospect one time, but obviously he's not like that in this anymore. A 3rd and a 7th is a lot to give up just to get Brian Lee. He's not going to really grow much more than a 79 probably. Yeah, he's already 25 as well. Yeah, he's not really that great. That third rounder could be something good, but I'm literally giving up a third rounder to get a third rounder, so it's basically Brian Lee for a seventh rounder, and then we probably stay right around the same spot in the draft because the Sens are doing really bad too. Like, they're almost just as bad as us at the moment, so a seventh rounder for Brian Lee is not terrible, but the pick swap I honestly don't know about, so I'm going to just decline that too. And we are now officially a day before the deadline, 17-40-6. So definitely doing a lot better since we got in that coach, but obviously still losing games, which is exactly what we want to see. We are not the worst defensive team in the NHL anymore, and we're still 8th on the penalty kill, which is surprising. And obviously our player stats are muchly improving since bringing in this new coach. Let's go to edit lines here and see some of the adjustments. So Cameron was on only 9 points when we made the coaching adjustment. He's now on 26 points. So he's almost got 18 more points since this coaching adjustment, I guess. He's doing definitely a lot better, picking up power play points and all that. Plus minus is obviously still trash, but he is definitely finding his game a bit, showing off that playmaker ability because he's definitely getting more assists and goals. I like that. Jordan Eberle also, since that coaching adjustment, has started to pick up his pace a bit. 42 points in 63 games. Now, he was only on 23 points, I think, when we brought in that coach. So he's finding his game as well, which is much, much better. Nyquist is actually doing really good. 28 points for Gustav Nyquist in his rookie season. So, yeah, I'm liking the way these young guys are assimilating with this coach by comparison. 17 points still for Marcoux, not bad. I like that. Who else is a good player to look at, I guess, for stats? Justin Falk. He only had 3 points before we brought in his coach. Now he's up to 10 points. That's much better, I would say. 6 goals, 4 assists, 10 points. Isn't crazy for a two-way defenseman, but he at least is starting to find his game a bit. He's a minus 48 this season, though, so a rough year for Justin Falk, but he should be getting better at least. And then Petrie went up to an 82, so maybe he's actually getting better too. He's got 22 points. Not bad. And then from a goalie perspective, Dubnyk is obviously still not doing too well. Same with Delorier, but it is what it is. All right. I don't mind the way this team's simulating right now. I think this is exactly what we kind of want. AHL team is obviously simulating good, and there's a lot of guys that are NHL ready, like Hodgson, Toffoli, Burmistrov. We only signed Sterling as the guy for the AHL, so he's not going to be here long-term likely, but it looks like some of the young guys are developing. Defensively, Safronov 76, Zhurdev 74. Goalies, Grubauer's is 77. Yeah, I'm liking the way the AHL team's looking. Maybe Springfield could win a Calder Cup for us this season. So do we want to revisit any potential deals? I don't think so, because we are barely above the cap floor. We have $15 million in cap space, so we can take on a bad salary if we really want to make ourselves cap compliant, but we're like, if we trade away Patrick O'Sullivan, we'll drop well below the floor, I think, right? Actually, not that much, maybe. Wait. Yeah, maybe not. Maybe we would be still at the floor if we traded away Patrick O'Sullivan. It's hard to see if it's below the floor. I think that is just barely below it. But if we traded him to a team that actually has somebody with a cap hit in this deal, we might be able to make something work. But Patrick O'Sullivan this season is on a pretty solid start. 39 points. Not as good as last year. But he could be helping Cameron out a little bit in terms of production, being a sniper. But Eberle is also a sniper, so 39 points. Trying to think if I want to trade away Patrick O'Sullivan this season or not. Let's go to Find Trade and just see if there's any interesting offers thrown at us for him now. Let's see. Offers for Patrick O'Sullivan. 3 found. There's some actually interesting offers. So the first one is Boston. I think that's the low overall medium elite, so that's probably not the best prospect in the world. A second rounder, Nathan Beaulieu. I mean, that could be interesting. I will got to take a look at Mikonov again, but that's an interesting deal. LA would give us their medium elite prospect, Bartozak, who's a defensive prospect, and Zane McIntyre, who's already signed for his ELC. I don't really need another goalie under contract is the thing. And then Mike Fisher, a third, and Brian Lee. So obviously not doing the Sens one because we don't need a veteran like Mike Fisher. But Fada or Mikonov could be interesting for somebody like Patrick O'Sullivan. So how good is Mikonov, out of curiosity? at the moment. Yeah, see, Mikonov, or whatever it's pronounced as, 57 at 20 is pretty bad for a low elite. Like, he definitely could still make it, but I don't think he will. So, I don't really like this offer from the Bruins. It's basically a guy that's not going to really pan out. However, the one from the Kings, how good is Fata? Is Fata actually better because they're willing to give me some other lower end prospects? Let's see. Fata is... Oh, yeah, he's a 73 at 20. That is really tough to pass up on. He was a former first-round pick just 2 years ago. Almost. 27th overall. Damn. Having a good time in Manchester as well. He'd help out the AHL team right now, too. Even though the AHL team's already really good. I do kind of like the looks of George Fata, or Jorge Fata, whatever it's pronounced as. Yeah, he's definitely a good prospect. Bartoszak's not unsigned to his ELC. I probably wouldn't even sign this guy, 62 at 21. And then Zane McIntyre, like I said, I don't really need a goalie prospect, though. He's just a healthy scratch right now for the Manchester Monarchs, who have won Calder Cups before. We don't really need another goalie under contract is the thing. Maybe I would get rid of McIntyre off this deal, because Dubnyk, Grubauer, Delorier, two of mine are under contract. Vasilevsky's going to get signed probably this offseason or something like that. Same with Danielson, actually, for that matter, too. So I don't really need Zane McIntyre in this deal, so I'll probably remove McIntyre from this deal. And honestly, I don't really even need Bartoszak, to be honest, because I probably wouldn't sign him to his ELC. But now they'd be over to salary cap. So that's why they would need to give us Zane McIntyre, my guess. And so that way they'd be cap compliant. I don't know. They'd actually be still over the cap, it looks like, by like $74,000. That's interesting. Fata's got a lot of value. I really do like the looks of Fata, but I don't feel... I'm trying to think if I really want to do this or not. He has been a Calder Cup champion before, because he won that like 2 years ago. 4 points only during that run is kind of insane, especially after having a 40-point regular season. But he's a good little player. Probably makes the NHL soon. He's a right wing and a left winger, which is kind of nice. From Austria. He's only just signed for 3 more years still, too. I kind of really like this deal for Fata, but I need to find a way to see if I could just take in another draft pick or something instead, because I didn't want McIntyre and I don't want that low 7th D. So would they like give me like a 3rd rounder for like, say, 2029 in this deal with Fata, or is that too much to ask for? I might be just willing to take Fata straight up, to be honest. I'm just trying to see if we'd be cap compliant. It's really tough to tell. Like I'd have to like zoom all the way in to see if that bar is still over or not. You know what? I think I'm gonna trade for Fata. We're gonna see if we could get the 3rd in this deal. LA, though, being over the cap by $74,000, they have to just send some guy down to the AHL, I guess, basically, right? Obviously, O'Sullivan's going to turn LA into a potential cup contender for 12-13. Yeah, you know what? I think I'm going to try and trade for Fata here. I wasn't thinking for sure I wanted to get rid of Patrick O'Sullivan, but this deal from LA is too hard to pass up on. Patrick O'Sullivan's probably at his peak. He's 28 years old already, too. He's had some good 60-point seasons. He's on pace for another, like, 50-point season, at least. But in terms of, like, being part of, like, the future of this team, not really there. And we get in a guy like Fata who can play both sides, who could maybe be a future line mate in the top 6 of somebody like Cameron. I think that's a good deal. So let's see if that works with a 3rd round pick. If it doesn't, I could try and take a 4th rounder instead or something like that. But I don't really need Zane McIntyre or that low top 6 D-man. So would this work? And the answer is yes, it would. So we do instead get rid of McIntyre from that deal, which is what we want. And O'Sullivan's back to LA, where he started his NHL career. And we do get in a good prospect in Fata, which means we will have to call somebody up from the AHL. Fata's going to go down to the AHL. Tyler Toffoli could come up and play in that top line, but he's not a left winger. So I'm probably going to call on somebody else instead that's not a prospect. Yeah, I'm going to call up like Liam Reddix, I think, in that type of role. Because Reddix isn't going to pan out anymore, so we might as well call up Liam Reddix to the NHL. And we'll move Cogliano, I guess, to the top line. Hagelin to the second line. And we will go to this line here and give Reddix that opportunity there. And we'll go to the AHL lines here. We'll move Omar. We'll move Omar down. Actually, Fada plays right wing too, so we could move somebody else down in that spot. We did bring in Sterling just for the depth purposes, so we'll move Sterling to the fourth line, and we'll go here and get Fada into this spot here. Perfect. So now we have a really good prospect behind Toffoli too, which is good. Yeah, I like that. I think that was a good move, honestly. That's probably one of the better moves we made. Fada gets power play time too. We'll get him some penalty kill time if he can. Maybe we won't give him PK time. You know what? We'll take out Ryan O'Mara. He's not going to pan out anyways. But yeah, I'm excited for this. I think that's a good little deal. Wasn't expecting to get that type of return for O'Sullivan. But O'Sullivan wasn't probably really a part of the future here anyways. And now this gives a chance for Cogliano to play with Cameron and Eberle. Like, that's a nice, okay top line for the time being. But we do definitely still have a lot of work to do in terms of redeveloping this team. A lot of guys from the AHL are going to be end up making the NHL soon, though. Hodgson, Burmistrov, Toffoli, Fada. Defensively, Safronov, Zhurdev. I'm excited. I'm really excited for the future with this team still. So that's our only deal I think we're going to make. And we are now below the floor. Did that readjust our salary cap out of curiosity? It did not fully. We might need to take in some salary. Actually, now it just readjusted itself again. That's kind of strange. So yeah, we're probably still right at the floor, I bet, that deal. So that is good. That is good. And I guess they must have sent somebody down with that deal. Where does O'Sullivan fit into their lineup out of curiosity? Hopefully they didn't just send him to the AHL, because I hate when AI teams do that. But I think that was a nice little move for our team to make at this point in the season. O'Sullivan jumps into their second line. They don't really need somebody like Patrick O'Sullivan, but they wanted him, so I'm going to just give him to him. Eric Cole and Paul Carrier are now in the bottom six because of that, but yeah, good deal. It'll be interesting to see if the LA Kings end up winning a Stanley Cup now because of that trade or not, but that's going to be our only trade we make. Let's advance to a day past the trade deadline. I think that's the only move I wanted to make. Obviously, Sam Gagner getting moved in the draft is something that we're going to look into in next episode, so let's bypass the trade deadline. Let's just go with that and go continue simulating. But yeah, at least the team's starting to improve and play better. Obviously, this O'Sullivan deal might hurt us a little bit, but I'm hoping that obviously the top prospects still play good, and maybe Cogliano can get more production done now that he's on the top line. So let's take a look at this year's trades for the 2013 trade deadline. Any crazy deals happened this year? So first and foremost, Washington acquires some picks and two others. Ottawa gets back some guy named Kavanagh who's generated. Don't really know what that deal is anymore. Phoenix gets a second rounder and some guy named Cook, not Matt Cook. Detroit gets Chris Phillips and Chris Campoli, so two former Sens on their way to Detroit. San Jose gets a second in Kevin Klein from Nashville. Nashville gets back a second, a fourth, and Torrey Mitchell. So Nashville getting some offensive help a little bit, and San Jose getting a defenseman. Pittsburgh acquires a third, a fourth, and Dan Fritsch from Ottawa. Ottawa gets back a second and a third. All right, typical move. Nashville gets Chris Stewart, a seventh from Colorado. Colorado gets back a second-round pick. That's an interesting deal. I guess this was around the time period. I guess it was maybe a few years late. But Chris Stewart was dealt from Colorado to St. Louis in that crazy like Kevin Shattenkirk type of deal. Eric Johnson trade, I think that was actually for that matter. So kind of makes sense. Buffalo acquires R.J. Umberger and a fifth from Columbus. Columbus gets back a second-round pick. All right, R.J. Umberger to Buffalo. Buffalo has loaded up on a lot of players as of late, so I'm not too sure how good they are, but interesting that they bring in R.J. Umberger. New Jersey gets Kent Huskins in a third. Toronto gets back a second and a third. All right, not much of a deal there. San Jose gets back Josh Georges in a third and a fourth from Columbus, so Georges back to San Jose. Columbus gets back a second and a third. It seems like a lot of teams are just giving up second rounders for players. Vancouver gets David Desharnais in a fifth and Ryan Wilson from Colorado, who we were offered at one point. Colorado gets back a second rounder and a goalie prospect named Brodin. Okay. St. Louis gets Chris Kelly a fourth and a fifth from Toronto, so Toronto's offloading some players, so I guess they don't think they're going to make the playoffs now this season. Toronto gets back a prospect named Vorobyev, Jake Allen, and Anthony Stolarz is on his way to Toronto. Well, that's interesting. He's on his way to Toronto well before this current year in NHL history, so that's kind of neat. I don't really know what that deal is for Toronto right now because I don't know how low of an overall Stolarz is, but they get two goalie prospects, so Toronto's doing whatever they can to get a lot of good young players in, I guess. Rangers have acquired Curtis Foster in a third from Atlanta. Atlanta gets back a second, a third, and Magnus Hellberg. All right. Ottawa gets a third, a fifth, and Matt Karkner from Buffalo. So Matt Karkner was signed by Buffalo in free agency, and he immediately gets dealt back to Ottawa. Buffalo gets back Brian Elliott, a fourth, and Jamie Langenbrunner. That seems like a crazy return for that, though. Like, Brian Elliott's not that bad of a goalie. Langenbrunner at this point obviously would be pretty old, but that much given up for just Matt Karkner basically in a third. Kind of weird. Columbus gets Trocheck and Outlaw from St. Louis, so two prospects. St. Louis gets back Chris Russell in a fourth. So Chris Russell on his way to St. Louis. I feel like he was on St. Louis around this time period too. So that's kind of an interesting one that he'd be on his way to the team he played for, I think, at this point, if I'm not mistaken. Also, why the heck did my mouse die on my computer? Bruh. Okay, that's kind of annoying. Anyways, what else we got here? Islanders acquired Hjalmarsson, Bruno Gervais in a fifth. So Bruno Gervais on his way back to Long Island. Dallas obviously giving up on Hjalmarsson after they signed him recently. Or they got him recently from Chicago. Dallas gets back a second and a third. All right. Toronto gets a second, a sixth, and some goalie prospect named Sontang from New Jersey. New Jersey gets Craig Anderson and Jonathan Erickson. Yeah, so Toronto offloaded a lot of good players. So they did make the playoffs last year, but now they're offloading them for young players. So I guess they're still kind of in a rebuild, which is interesting. Carolina acquires Rich Peverly from Atlanta for a second and a third. So in real life, Rich Peverly was on Boston, I guess the year that they would have went to the finals. He would have been on Dallas, I guess, at this point in time, but now he's joining the Carolina Hurricanes in this universe. Edmonton acquires George Fata. That's our trade, and that is it. All right. So the trades for 2012-13, some interesting ones in there for sure, but I wouldn't say anything like crazy where we see like a top-end player getting dealt, but some good little lateral moves for a lot of teams. So we'll be interested to see which team made the right moves in terms of trying to get them a Stanley Cup win. So let's get the rest of the season simulated now and see how our young guys finish off this season. And obviously find the draft lottery results, that type of thing. Obviously, we only have one first-round pick this year, but we should be able to easily get another if we move out from Sam Gagner at the draft, I think. If we want to, that is. All right, so we beat Colorado but lost to Vancouver. Ryan Jones has been injured. I could have still traded Ryan Jones, but I didn't. That's not the end of the world. I don't think it matters that much. Obviously, Philip Deneau could have been a good prospect for this team, but we already have so many prospects that I don't really want to trade for a lot more, as Liam Reddick gets injured shortly into his time getting called up, which is not great. There's another win now. We're actually playing pretty good to start off March, which is not ideal, but I will take it, I guess, because I want the young guys at least to be working out really well. So let's get Reddick back in here. Jones looks like he's back too, which he would be back in, I guess, technically where Lewis is. So get him back in there as well, even though he probably gets re-injured, I guess. Maybe? I don't know. We'll try it out. See if he stays healthy. Game against Dallas. And now he's fully healed. Okay, that's good. Game against Dallas is a loss, 5-1. Chorney's been now injured with a sore shoulder. We'll go replace player on that. New Jersey is a loss. Yeah, that's good. We're still losing games with this new coach, but at least we're having some better efforts. And now our top young guy has been injured. Chase Cameron is out with an injured ribs. He's out till March the 30th, so not long term, but Does suck that the kid gets injured in his rookie season, because obviously he's probably going to be Sam Gagner 2.0, but hopefully a guy that actually wants to stay with this team. So we'll get Trevor Lewis back out of the lineup, get Cameron back in. I'm excited to see what the stats look like at the end of the season for Cameron. Hopefully he's drastically improved in production since the beginning of these coaching changes. So 22, 49, and 8. We got 3 games left. Obviously, we're not a playoff team, which is good. Hopefully we have good odds to get Nathan MacKinnon this year, because I feel like Nathan MacKinnon would be the perfect player to put next to Cameron, just because I think MacKinnon, I made him a sniper. So putting him next to a playmaker would be pretty sick. All right. Who is back from injury? Oh, Chorney, right. A lot of these guys that are like depth defenders and stuff like that are just dropping off cliffs in terms of overall, which kind of sucks, but is what it is. They're not going to be NHLers for long term anyways. All right, I can't see what's going on because the sim engine, 2 more losses, and the last game of the season against our rivals in the Flames. And Petrie gets injured with a bruised arm, of course he does. 5-1 win. So he finished the season 23, 51, and 8. So a pretty rough year for his team. Let's make sure the AI teams are done their season as well here before we take a look at some standings and all that. So almost the season's done for all teams, I think. Yep, there we go. Everybody is done. So now comes the moment of truth, finding out where we finished the season. Let's put my face on the screen so you guys can't see anything. And I'm not going to look at the stats on anything like this either. I'm just going to go to Stats Central, go to the standings, and then we'll figure out where we finish in terms of like draft lottery results potentially and all that stuff. But in terms of the entire league, the Washington Capitals were the best team in the NHL again. Not really a surprise. They did lose Mike Green though, so that's kind of crazy. But John Carlson came in and did a really good job, I guess. We were the worst team in the NHL, so we have secured the top odds for Nathan MacKinnon. But will we win it? Will we win him? We could always try and move up to get him still, I guess, technically. But Tampa has the second best odds. Columbus has the third best odds. Ottawa, Phoenix. All right. Goals for per game. We were probably dead last in all these, right? Yeah, dead last in offense. We were dead last in defense. Good. Power play percentage. We were not dead last in power play percentage. So we improved on the power play as the season went on. We were down here. Don't know where that is. And then penalty kill percentage, our penalty kill was still very good this season. It was a top 5 penalty kill in the league, despite being as bad as our team was. Only 4 shorthanded goals, 13, 25, and 3 on home ice, 10, 26, and 5 on the road, 2, 6, and 2 in our last 10 games. How did the AHL team do this season? Did they clinch a playoff spot already? Yes, they have. Yes, they have. How about entire league? They were the 4th best team in the entire league, so shout out to Springfield, who will get a chance to maybe go for a Calder Cup this year. We'll see if they can get it done. It'll be exciting if they can. We should probably take a look at how good Fada did down there too when we get to their stats. And there's our point leader, Jordan Eberle. 61 points. Not bad. Obviously started off the season slow with the old coach. He had like 23 points in 41 games. But that means he had a really good second half though when we brought in that new coach. So that's exactly what I want to see from our top young guys. So let's see what we got for stats here. Let's go by each position. Starting off with our centers. Brule had 52 points. That's not too bad of a year for him. Cogliano on 43. All right. Cameron on 39. Definitely much better with the new coach. He had 30 points, I guess, in technically the last 40 game, or actually 39 games of the season. 30 points in 39 games because he did miss 2. So close to point per game down the stretch. 16 power play points. So the power play must have helped them in a lot. But that's not a bad rookie year for Chase Cameron. And he should be probably like a second liner next season in terms of his role. Marcoux, 21 points. Not bad for Kenny Marcoux. I'll take it. Hopefully he continues to develop. I feel like he could be a really solid two-way power play, penalty kill kind of guy for us. Riley Nash, 19 points. Lewis had 6 in 20. Left wing side of things. Nyquist on 41 points in his rookie year. I'll take that as well from him. Hopefully he continues to develop. Hagelin on his rookie season, 34 points. I'm liking the way some of these young guys are producing a bit at least. Boychuk, 22 points. Ryan Jones, 20. Reddick's had 11 points in 17 games after getting called up. Wow. I mean, he was getting power play time, but shout out to Liam Reddick's. He was doing really solid in the AHL as well. Obviously, we could send him back down for the AHL playoffs, but The AHL team is already stacked enough that they don't really even need him. From a right wing perspective, Eberle 61 points as we saw. Solid year again from Jordan Eberle. He is getting better every single season by 10 points, so he's looking like a pretty good player. He's very much on the cusp of hitting 30 goals for the first time as well, so shout out to Eberle. D'Agostini 24 points, and Verleeson 1 goal in 2 games. Not bad. Defensively, Petrie on 31 points. Did play all 82 games. Obviously got injured in the last game of the season, but not a bad year for Jeff Petrie. 16 points from Justin Falk. Definitely had much better results with the new coach too, but a minus 59 is absolutely atrocious. Schmid on 15 points, Bees on 13, Chorney on 13, McQuaid on 3, and O'Byrne on 2. From a goaltending perspective, Dubnyk had an 895, did pick up our 3 shutouts, but obviously did pretty bad. Played 72 of 82 games this year. God damn. A lot of hockey for Devin Dubnyk. And then Delorier was pretty trash. And only 1 assist from Delorier this season for goalies. In terms of stats around the league, who led the NHL in points? Who led the NHL in points? The answer, Alex Ovechkin, 154 points for Ovi this year at 27 years old. Malkin had 142, Nick Backstrom 135, Crosby 7. So Pittsburgh and Washington, gotta watch out for them. Best goal scorer this season was once again Ovechkin, 84 goals in 82 games, so he's over a goal a game. And Zach Parise had 79, Kovalchuk had 68, Malkin 66, Daniel Sedin 64, a lot of 50 goal scorers as well. So it looks like the offense is quite up in the NHL at this point, which is interesting. All right, best defenseman in terms of points this season was John Carlson, 65 points. So John Carlson's likely going to win a Norris just as Mike Green left that team, which is interesting. Yeah, John Carlson's looking pretty good. Ryan Whitney on 64 points. Damn, Whitney left us, went to the Devils, and that played really solid this season. EK 65 up there. Then you have also Enstrom, you have Letang, Brian Campbell, Drew Doughty. All right, Tom Gilbert's still up there with some good stats too, after signing in Dallas as a free agent. Best goalie this season, in terms of wins, Roberto Luongo with 43. Damn, Braden Holtby up there 42. Is Holtby a rookie this season? No, he was a rookie last year, but this was his first season as a starter. Damn. Washington is going to have to trade away Varlamov, it seems like. Most shutouts, Jonathan Quick with 6. Best save percentage by a starter, Ben Bishop with a 926 in St. Louis. Goddamn. And best goals against average is going to be probably Ben Bishop as well. Bishop and Halak actually did really well in St. Louis, so yeah, Ben Bishop likely could be your Vezina winner, or they might give it to Carey Price. Any goalie goals this season? The answer is no. Most assists is going to be 4 from Luongo, Pavlik, and Conklin. All right. Best rookie of the season for 2012-13, Nikita Kucherov, 77-point rookie season. God damn. He had a crazy rookie year. And you had Ryan Johansson on 60, Alex Killorn on 60, Philip Forsberg on 58, and Nikita Kucherov. Goddamn. Yeah, the Rangers have some really good players. And then rookie goalies this season. Holtby's technically considered a rookie, so I don't know if he'd be up there for the rookie of the year, but he might. Damn. And that Sontang guy that got dealt at the deadline actually played 7 games this season with Toronto. So Toronto didn't even care. They just played a 63 overall goalie in net. Kind of weird. All right. Let's briefly take a look at the AHL leader. That was Cody Hodgson for us. Led the AHL in points. 91 points in 80 games. I guess he's pretty much ready to take that NHL jump up next season. He's not the craziest player, but he has good offensive awareness and passing that he should do well at the NHL level, my guess. Toffoli was also up there too. So it looks like our AHL team is primed to have a good season in the playoffs, hopefully. All right. So there's that. Actually, I did want to take a look at our AHL player stats briefly, too, just to see who else had points. Like, I want to see how good Fada did since joining the team. The AHL team was absolutely stacked. Zhurdev was a plus 52. So completely reverse roles of our NHL team, of course. But Fada, since we acquired him from Manchester / LA, 8 points in 15 games, 6 goals. Not bad. Not bad. Not the craziest results, but he's on a deep team, so. But, yeah, the AHL team should be good enough to maybe win a Calder Cup. We'll see, obviously, if they do it, but No guarantees, but yeah, the goaltending was phenomenal down there in the AHL. The player stats were phenomenal. Hopefully they have a good chance to go for a good run. Way reversed roles of our NHL team. All right, so there is that. Now the question is, who is going to win the Stanley Cup in 2013? Hopefully it's a realistic team. I didn't see who made the playoffs, so we'll advance today so we can see the playoff bracket for 2012-13, just because we could see how close it is to real life, I guess. All right, so playoff tree, the favorite is the Capitals again this year. You'll have Vancouver playing the Minnesota Wild. You have St. Louis in Detroit, Anaheim, San Jose, Chicago, LA. That's actually a crazy first round, Chicago and LA. Obviously, at this point in time, Chicago would have won the Cup in 2013. LA would have won it in 2012 and 2014. So whoever wins that round could end up being the favorite in the West. Washington and Toronto. So Toronto did end up making the playoffs despite offloading quite a bit. You also have Pittsburgh and Atlanta, Boston, Montreal, and New Jersey and New York. So the Rangers went on to make the playoffs in the first year of Kucherov and Philip Forsberg. Good on them. Good on them. AHL playoffs, we have Lake Erie in Toronto, Peoria, Milwaukee, Grand Rapids, Abbotsford, San Antonio, and Texas. That's actually pretty sick. Good little Texas matchup. And in Springfield, which is our team, the first seed will be playing the Binghamton Senators. You also have Albany, Manchester, Hartford, Portland, and Bridgeport, and Norfolk. All right. Well, let's find out who ends up winning the Cups in the NHL and AHL this season. Then we'll obviously get to the draft lottery results and all that stuff too, but I really hope we somehow find a way to win the draft lottery. Would be very nice to have Nathan MacKinnon with this team. Obviously, we could still try and move up to get him, but might be too costly. So hopefully we find a way just to stay at number one with our odds. Let's just go best lines here. Did the AHL team get eliminated already? Because I have not seen a notification pop up yet. Never mind. Okay. So they're on their way to round 2. Good job, Springfield. Keep it up. Hopefully you guys find a way to win a Calder Cup this season, because that would be absolutely awesome. Let's see. They get to the third round. Okay, so they're on to the conference finals again. I think they made it there last year too. Can they make it to the Calder Cup finals? As Hodgson got injured. Oh boy, of course he did. Pulled groin for him. That's not great, especially with the AHL team trying their best. Let's go best lines down there. Come on, AHL team, you got this, buddies. Let's see. Best lines, does that get us to the finals? The answer is probably not, because I've not seen them pop up yet. And no, it's not. So our AHL team, unfortunately, I guess, lost in the conference finals. The LA Kings do win the Stanley Cup after that trade involving Patrick O'Sullivan. So I think that trade is going to work out well for both teams. The Kings go on to win the Stanley Cup in 2013, so a year late, but still that's a pretty good time period for it. And then Peoria wins the AHL, so we kind of called it. Whoever won that LA-Chicago series would win the Stanley Cup, and that's exactly what happened. All right. Let's go to, I guess, the playoff brackets and stuff like that to see how each team got to their points. So LA obviously winning the Stanley Cup here. Over the New Jersey Devils, too. A year late. Let's freaking go, bros. Ah! I know I just removed my face so you guys couldn't see my reaction, but that's absolutely what I'd love to see. I love it when there's an actual Cup Finals, and it's not too far off. I don't know how New Jersey got to that point, so that's kind of an interesting one, but Toronto, despite offloading, got to the conference finals, which is kind of an interesting one too, but damn. So LA went through Chicago in 6, then they went through Minnesota in 6, they went through San Jose in 7, and then they took out New Jersey in 6. I love to see that. Love to see that realism. And then our AHL team did lose in the conference finals in 7 games to the Hartford Wolfpack, who ended up losing to Peoria in the finals. Peoria went through Milwaukee in 6. They also went through Texas in 5, Lake Erie in 7, and Hartford in 5. All right. So there is all that. Let's take a look at the players from that Cup-winning LA Kings team, just so we could kind of see who was on that roster. Oh, man, Patrick O'Sullivan was fantastic with the Kings in that finals, or those playoffs. Wow. So Kopitar, obviously the Conn Smythe winner likely based on these stats. Dustin Brown, 28 points. But Patrick O'Sullivan, we traded him there, and we gave them basically a Stanley Cup. So shout out to Patrick O'Sullivan, who was absolutely fantastic for them. 6 points only in 16 regular season games, but 28 points in 25 playoff games. And he's still signed for multiple years. Was it hard to get rid of him? Sure. But I think Fada's going to be good. Aside from that, Hanzu's 26 points. Damn, man, they got really good depth scoring because Paul Correa was a fourth line guy. So the LA Kings getting it done against the team they actually won the cup against, but 1 year late. Love to see that. I don't know who was on the Devils team, though. I should take a look at that, too. Jonathan Quick wasn't himself, though. That's kind of weird. Let's take a look at who was on New Jersey at this point. Kovalchuk still, Parise, Lombardi. So they did bring in some new pieces, but it's pretty much a normal Devils team for the most part. What about defensively? Ryan Whitney. Oh, yeah. So Whitney lost in the finals to O'Sullivan, so our two former guys, of course. Forgot about Whitney being there for no reason. And then goalies, Craig Anderson, who got dealt from Toronto. He knocked out his old team in Toronto in the conference finals, I think, which is kind of hilarious. So Toronto decided to offload him, and yeah, he ended up knocking him out in 7 games. That's when trade deadline deals come back to bite you. In the regular season, he was absolutely insane with the Devils too. Like, he was doing okay in Toronto. Toronto offloads him. He goes 11-1-2. Like a Hamburglar-esque run for Craig Anderson. And then gets his team all the way to Cup Finals to lose. That's crazy that New Jersey gets to the finals, though, also the year after they let go of Martin Brodeur. Was not expecting that. Alright, in terms of awards, though, for the season, obviously we saw LA won the Stanley Cup, so the first time they've won it in this universe. And then Washington won their 3rd President's Trophy. In terms of individual awards, Ovechkin, another Art Ross, or actually no, his first Art Ross. He does win the Hart. John Carlson, the Norris, the breakup Mike Green streak, but it's still 3 caps in a row, which is insane. Nick Backstrom, the Lady Byng. Kucherov, the Calder. Kopitar, the Conn Smythe. Carey Price does win his Vezina, so shout out to Carey Price, who Montreal fans would say this is the best goalie ever, but I think he's kind of overrated at times. Ben Bishop and Yarrow Halak win them Jennings. Ladislav Smith won the Bill Masterton for us, obviously because our plus-minus was trash. Toronto's head coach to Jack Adams. Shout out to Agent 47. Probably Agent 47, right? Mikko Koivu to Selke for the 3rd consecutive year, too. So shout out to Mikko Koivu, who's racking them up. Ovechkin to Lindsay. And Ovechkin wins his 3rd straight Richard, too. AHL awards. Hodgson obviously won us some awards down there, which is good to see. Dan Cleary won an award. Tyler Toffoli was the best rookie in the AHL. Brendan Smith, the best defenseman. All right. Matthew Guerin. Dustin Boyd was the Calder Cup playoff MVP. Cody Hodgson again. Connor Murphy. Martin Biron. Hodgson again. So yeah, Hodgson won a lot of awards in the AHL, which is nice. Good on him. He should probably make the NHL team next season. Alright, so now comes the moment of truth, the draft lottery results. Where are we going to be drafting in 2013? And are we going to be able to potentially get Nathan MacKinnon with that pick? Or are we going to have to try and move up to get him? Or are we just going to stay with our pick? Let's see the results. I feel like I want to slow reveal this, but there's no way I could really slow reveal it. So, can we find a first overall selection? The answer is yes, we can. Let's friggin' go. Yes, finally, we actually stay at number 1. We do not fall back. Nathan MacKinnon is an Edmonton Oiler. That's the greatest news I've seen in this series so far. So MacKinnon is coming to Edmonton. Nashville, Carolina get number 2 and number 3. They move up from 12 to 2 and 13 to 3. So we're kind of lucky that we did not fall back. And I don't know why my mouse is still dead because I really want to write down these picks so I can kind of do a mock draft again. So let me try and see if I can get my mouse to actually start working again because it takes batteries and it's kind of annoying. But yeah, so us with first, Nashville has 2, Carolina has 3, Tampa has 4, and Columbus 5. Okay, let me write it down now because I got my mouse to start working in. So I just want to be able to know where everybody goes. Wait a second here. I need to open up a random file or else it won't work. Actually, no, I do have Notepad already open. I didn't even remember I had Notepad already opened. That's funny. Because I was brainstorming for our next series after my Islanders one. So let's do a little mock draft. We're going to write down every team and see who might be going where. Obviously, there could be some draft movement and stuff like that, but that is really exciting that we actually stayed at number 1 because that doesn't happen too often. Like, it seems like the odds are unlikely that you stay at 1 when you have the best odds. So for us to actually stay at number 1 in probably the best draft of this franchise mode, at least at the beginning, is exciting. All right, so I wrote down those lottery results. Any crazy retirements for 2013? Any crazy retirements? We'll go by each position, I guess. All right, so starting off with, actually, let's just go forwards to start. Doug Waite's the big one that retires for the Buffalo Sabres. You also have Jochen Hecht, Michael Nylander. The typical guys you'd expect to retire around this point, or should have already retired, like Keith Tkachuk, for instance. A lot of guys that are now like in the coaching or GM kind of era now, which is interesting too. A lot of dudes. Fernando Pisani retired, so shout out to our legend Fernando Pisani. He retires at 36. I probably passed on some guys as well, but is what it is. All right. What about defensively? Scott Niedermayer retired at 39. Damn, that's a pretty big one. And Sheldon Souray, after leaving us, has already retired at 36 as well. Kind of wasn't expecting him to retire this early, but he does. Roman Hamrlik, Jarl Spacek. Some good defensemen retiring too. So a pretty big retirement crop for this franchise mode. And then in terms of goaltenders, the best, Martin Brodeur retires in his first year with the Islanders, kind of like what he did when he went to the St. Louis Blues. Nabokov also retires at 37 in Worcester. You also have Tim Thomas down in the AHL. Damn. A lot of good retirements this year. Chris Osgood retires as an LA King. He was in the AHL the last season, though, so doesn't get his name on the cup again with the Kings. All right. Vesa Toskala as well. Shout out to Toskala. He only played 4 games, but actually posted good numbers. Damn, okay. So there's your retirements for the season. In terms of us losing any coaches to retirement, does not look like it. Yeah, we did not lose any coaches. That's good. All right, so now comes the interesting thing. We'll take a look, obviously, at the contract situation, the progress reports, and the actual draft class. So we'll start off with the progress reports. See how good the development is we're getting from our top prospects. Or if there's any statistical drop-off, which there is drop-off from Brule, but Cameron's getting a lot of growth, so I don't really care too much about Brule at this point. Nyquist is getting growth. Falk's getting growth. So that's exciting. A lot of guys maybe on some statistical. Toffoli's pretty much ready for the NHL, I think, at this point, too. Which is exciting. Marcoux got some growth. All right. And Verleeson, Ladislav Smed's dropped off to a depth defenseman. That's kind of weird. What about goalies? No growth whatsoever. So Dubnyk is still an 84, and that's probably where he'll sit in the system. Getting a lot of growth from VC, from Zherdev, Grubauer. Looks like most of our prospects are growing quite well. Like Danielson, who is unsigned still. He's up to a 73 at 20 as a medium elite goalie, so we do have a lot of good goalies in our system still, too. Vasilevsky could probably get his ELC and play in the AHL next year because he didn't get a ton of growth as an unsigned player. But he might be NHL bound still soon too, which is crazy. Yeah, I like our prospect pool. Obviously, adding McKinnon to this mix is really exciting. So, there's all that. Obviously, we should probably let go of some of the filler players. Guys like Cody Hodgson did not grow at all, so maybe we just use Hodgson as more of a career depth forward in the NHL. Or we try and slot him in on third line and see if we could get him to grow. But damn. And Yakupov didn't get any growth as an unsigned prospect. So Yak might be a bust in this universe too unless we play him in the AHL next year. Alright. So there is that. Let's take a look at the contract situation. I don't think it's crazy results. Let's see. All expiring. So Sam Gagner, of course, we need to find a way to flip his rights. That's the main thing that needs to happen in the next episode. That's draft. He didn't play the entire year. I don't know what we could get for him, but he needs to be dealt. Eberle is an RFA, so obviously we'll probably re-sign him. He does not want an extension, but right now his organizational interest is kind of halfway. So we could give him a 6-year deal like he's wanting and try and get him locked up before he ends up being like Gagner. So that might be something. All these guys are UFAs. I probably let go of every single one of them. Maybe hold on to some. But we could probably let go of some to free up roster space. Riley Nash is an RFA, so I'd hold on to him. But a lot of the UFAs I probably would let go of just to free up some roster space and see what we actually still need. So there's that. And in goalies, it's not a huge loss from Delorier, but Danielson probably needs his ELC, which means maybe we don't even sign Vasilevsky for another year. Because if we sign Danielson, We have Danielson and Tuomainen. I feel like Tuomainen's maybe not an elite goalie prospect at this point anymore. Maybe we should trade him away and then have Vasilevsky and Danielson run the AHL. Grubauer could come to the NHL next season. Something like that, but that's definitely an option. And then now the cool thing, let's look at the 2013 draft class and see what we got. So yeah, Nathan MacKinnon, obviously he's listed as gem. We're definitely taking MacKinnon first overall. I think there's no question about it. Obviously being the franchise. Actually, he's a playmaker. I made him. Damn it, I thought I made him a sniper. So he's basically like Cameron, but a playmaker. The same thing, just a better potential. Damn, I didn't remember that I made him a playmaker. It was probably because ChatGPT said he's a playmaker, but I mean, I understand a lot of different things for him to be. So we'll probably use him more as a right winger than a center. And then he could probably play in the same line as Cameron, and then we'd need a sniper on that line, and then they'd have two great playmakers next to a sniper. There's also Barkov, who's supposed to go second overall. So, technically, we'd be getting Nathan MacKinnon. Barkov would be going to the Nashville Predators, which is kind of an interesting place for him to be. This generated Charpentier guy on his way to Carolina, likely, which kind of sucks because Elias Lindholm's right there. But Lindholm probably going to Tampa. Jake Gensel probably to Columbus. Seth Jones to Ottawa. That's kind of a weird one. Bo Horvat to Phoenix. Sean Monahan to Colorado. Calgary would be getting Josh Morrissey. Interesting one there. Darnell Nurse to Dallas. All right. Generate a guy named Peyton Reynolds on his way to the Florida Panthers, likely. Tyler Bertuzzi on his way to Philadelphia, I think. Damn. Anthony Duclair to the Islanders. Oh boy, that sucks for him because who knows if Patrick Waugh is coaching in this universe or not, but damn. And Buffalo would likely be getting generated guy Maximus Hartman. So there is a few generated guys, but I feel like Barkov in Nashville would be kind of an interesting one just because Nashville is more of a defensive first team, and adding a really good two-way forward like Barkov to that team is going to be kind of interesting, but there's no question about it. We go with Nathan MacKinnon with our first pick. So let's pin him, of course, even though we're going to take him first overall. We will probably be able to find a way to get a late first-round pick, too, if we get rid of Sam Gagner, maybe even more than that. So if you see guys that are anybody that's worth moving up to get, maybe we could try and move up to draft them as well with that deal. But, yeah, there's a lot of solid prospects in this class. And there's that generated guy named Drew Doughty, which is hilarious as shit still. So, in terms of potential, any good steals maybe we could get in later rounds? There's Ian McCoshen. He's definitely not elite. I know that for sure. I made him in this one. I was going to say, is that a generated McCoshen? But he's one I made. He's definitely not elite by a long shot. There is a goalie. We don't really need more goalie prospects, but there is some elite goalie prospects like Setzinger, Semyonov, who were generated. A medium elite left wing two-way forward that's 20 years old, and Roman Rosa. He's 5 years old, though, as a 20-year-old. Probably not very good, but he still would be a good addition just for the prospect potential. Aside from that, is there any lowlights in this draft? Is there any lowlights? Yes, there is. Right-handed defenseman, low elite offensive defenseman. Listed as a gem, Esamaki. We got to definitely draft Esamaki. You know, he's generated. Because a low elite offensive defenseman, to me, that's supposed to go around that point. This guy could end up being like Houghton from my Islanders series. So I really hope that guy's actually going to become something really good if we do draft him. Like, it would be nice to have some offense from the back end. This guy also could be a low elite DFD, though. Corbin Rodriguez, so we'll pin him since he's a gem. There's also this guy who's a gem and Jamie Nielsen, so we could definitely pin him too. A lot of gems, actually. Nice. Okay. So there is that. What other picks do we have in this year's draft class, out of curiosity? Again, oh yeah, we have 3 second-round picks. And we have 2 third-rounders, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And we'll probably get another first or something like that if we get rid of Sam Gagner right now. So, our next episode, I should say. So we'll definitely try and look to flip him away. Hopefully we can get something good. But anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of our Edmonton Oilers Throwback 2010 franchise mode. So in next episode, we'll take it to the final custom draft class of this throwback roster. We'll draft probably Nathan MacKinnon first overall, unless you guys see a realistic reason to take other people. But I think Nathan MacKinnon as an Oiler will be absolutely insane. Obviously, he's going to be a costly player in terms of salary cap down the road, but I think it'll obviously make us a really good team, having a guy like MacKinnon, Cameron, that type of thing to build this core around. So anything down below, and I'll see you guys next time.